Hey everybody, welcome to a really exciting episode of the Weekly Reboot. For the next two episodes, we have an amazing guest with us. I've got John Eklund here. He leads an organization that he founded called Recovery Alive. And as we've gotten to know each other, I just got to say the synergies, which is a word I don't normally use.
You got to define that.
The synergies.
Synergy.
The energies that are synonymous. I don't know if that's what it means. Are immense. And today we're going to actually be talking about a couple of different subjects all around mental health, around substance abuse, but also really we're going to talk about faith's infusion into those topics. And we're going to be talking about his workbook as well, the Recovery Alive handbook. So you're not going to want to miss this extremely awesome episode. So here we go. So with the very first thing, I just want to first say this amazingly displayed book here, the Recovery Alive handbook. I've read it cover to cover. And let me just say this from the jump. I love that all truth, if people seek the truth, eventually I think they end up at the same destination.
Yeah.
And those of you who are watching this who have been through a reboot program, or you've read the Healing What's Hidden book, or you've listened to the weekly reboots, there's these themes that when I and Jenny wrote them, we're like, oh man, this is profound. Like, this is a revolutionary thought. No one has had these ideas before. And then I read the Recovery handbook, which he wrote after our books. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm messing with you.
No, ambush. I got ambushed on this.
But no, which he wrote. And I was so seen. Like, I felt so validated in that, like, we're not some loonies off in the woods getting lost. It was like, wow, these are the same things. And so you tell me first off, just give a quick overview of what Recovery Alive is, because I want people to know that in our community.
Yeah, practically Recovery Alive is a Christ-centered 12-step program. It's operating within the churches, but what we are saying as our vision right now is that it's a church revolution, inspiring community revival through personal recovery.
Yeah.
And we know, by the way, your book is fabulous.
Thank you.
I want to put it right, not in front, maybe.
It's too bad. My team put your book there.
Healing What's Hidden is fabulous. But, I think you said people aren't broken necessarily, they're wounded.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great quote. And I think everybody is struggling with something.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're human,
that's good.
You've been through some sort of pain. You've been through some betrayal. You've got unforgiveness. You're angry. If you're human, you've lived any kind of time in this life, somebody has hurt you, or you've hurt somebody else. And so we just have a tendency as human to carry those things around. And what we say is, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. God has an original plan for us. You and I were just talking about the perfect human Jesus. Like, there is a way that God made us to be, and recovery is working to return us to who we were created to be in the first place, but not dismissing, that he has come to make all things new, not all new things. See how I'm quoting your book? How about that?
I'm here for it.
But that's true. It's so cool the way you're saying that, because it's like we're bringing in the things that hurt us, and those things become redemptive, and they help other people. We say it's recycling the pain.
Right.
Instead of just throwing that in the trash and then starting over. God doesn't do that. He recycles this pain. And so recovery, in the very language of recovery, is this idea that anybody can recycle their pain and use it for God's purposes. And that's the 12 steps. As long as we come out of denial, say, I'm struggling like everybody else, allow God to do the process, do the work. We do the work with him. We cooperate with God.
That's right.
And then step 12 is you can't keep it unless you give it away. So you start saying, well, now how can I be somebody who goes on mission, a search and rescue mission, to go after somebody because of what God did in me? I want the comfort to overflow, to comfort other people, the Bible says. That's how we're created. And so that's a little bit what recovery is. But in that vision, reverse engineer that church revolution language, and it starts with personal recovery. One person, that one more. Yeah. And I want to be preachy here, but when the Jesus steps out of the boat, the demoniac comes to his feet. Jesus delivers him from so many demons they can't count them. That guy says, hey, listen, can I follow you? And Jesus says, no. I want you to go to the Decapolis. These are the 10 biggest cities in the Gentile cities in the Roman Empire. And says, you go tell them what I've done for you. Same with the woman at the well. So that's what we want recovery to be, a recovered person. going out and recovering other people. Hurt people, but heal people.
That's it. Yeah. And I think one of the things that instantly struck is we've gotten to work with Recovery Alive more. And I mean, first off, if you're joining us, how similar does that sound to what we talk about on REBOOT, right? I mean, it's amazing to see that. And I hope you guys hear that. And there's people who join us there's people who are incarcerated who join us for these. There's people in military bases. There's people, first responders. There's people in churches, people in nonprofits who are joining. And I want you guys to hear this from the book, the Recovery Handbook, Recovery Live book. It says, recovery is so much more than helping people get sober. Ultimately, recovery is defined by our program as God's supernatural plan to breathe life into every lost and dying soul through the Holy Spirit empowered process of the 12 steps. Revivalist, and you just quoted this outside, revivalist Leonard Ravenhill wrote, Jesus did not come into the world to make bad men good. He came into the world to make dead men live. And, I think the movement that they're building, which is working through local churches to establish these transformative communities, starting with personal recovery. I think that's ultimately what I think our shared passion is, which is it starts with just that one person. It starts with that person who's on fire. And I know a lot of folks who've probably been through a reboot, they've probably been around AA groups.
Sure.
They've been around. So they kind of like, oh yeah. I know the 12 steps. I've been involved in the 12 steps. So I guess the first question would be, okay, maybe I don't have a problem with drinking. Maybe I don't have a problem with substance abuse. So I should just tune this out, right? I mean, the 12 steps. So tell me, how do 12 steps and trauma and mental health, where is the overlap and why is it applicable to me in my life?
Yeah. And I think that if we agree that everybody is struggling with something, that everybody's got some kind of pain in their life, they've hurt somebody, or they've been hurt, or both.
Yeah.
If that's true, one of the tendencies, and you talk about it in your book, is that humans have this remarkable tendency to deny reality, to deny the fact that we're struggling. It's part of our defense mechanism is to say, I'm okay. Yeah. And we can be like cussing at our kids in the car, ready for a divorce. You walk up to the greeter at the door. He's like, how you doing? You're like, I'm fine. Yeah. And we have an acrostic for fine in recovery. I can't use the actual language, but it's frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Okay. When people say they're fine, they're in denial for the most part. And where is it safe to start talking about the fact that I am really broken, I am wounded, I am hurting? And so the 12 steps, firstly, allow for a safe place to begin to have conversations that are very difficult, embarrassing, vulnerable.
Right.
And that first step that says, I'm going to admit. It's just hard to admit when we don't have the answers. It's hard to admit that I can't figure this out on my own. It's hard to admit that I've tried every way I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. I've tried everything I can to fix it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I admit I'm powerless, and my life's unmanageable. And so I think that benefits every human on earth to have the ability, the humility, to be able to talk about what you're struggling with. It's so healthy to confess your sin one to another and pray for each other. Yeah. The Bible says that's healing. There's healing there. Yeah. There's forgiveness when we confess to Christ, and I think there's healing. But there's something about when you and I have a conversation and I get really vulnerable where, I mean, even the secular world will say, like, I felt like I just need to get something off my chest. Yeah. What's the opposite? Is like, I feel like I have something just pushing on me. That's anxiety. Number one health issue in America, anxiety just pushing on me. I just feel like I got to get this stuff out. And so, we say anybody can benefit from this, from this step process, because it starts off saying, like, I'm ready to admit that I'm not perfect, that I struggle. Then maybe there's a power greater than myself who can bring me restoration. Maybe I can start to believe that I'm not the center of the universe, that I don't have all the answers. I think everybody would admit,
and I don't make a very good God.
I am a terrible God.
Right.
Yeah. Bruce Almighty. And then this beautiful third step, which is I've decided. Yeah. I'm going to work this thing. I'm going to do the work. I've decided to turn my life and will over to the care of God. What What a beautiful thing for any human being to do is to surrender. We call that the power of surrender, and that it's not a one-time decision.
I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think the tendency is to say, okay, I've gotten healed.
Right.
I'm doing better.
Right.
I'm no longer struggling in some of the ways. I'm back involved in my family. I'm maybe being the husband or the spouse the wife that I want to be. And I think the tendency is to view it almost a little bit through a transactional lens, like a surgery. Yeah. I went in and I got the tumor removed and now I'm good. But I think one of the things that I think I appreciate about the 12-step model and the idea is really, when is the last time, and this is a question for you all joining us, when is the last time you reassessed your powerlessness and said, you know what, I'm starting to take back some of the control. I'm starting to try to take back some of the ownership. I'm trying to take back some areas. And when's the last time you said, whoa, I need to drop to a knee. I need to say, you know what? I need to remind myself of my powerlessness, that I wasn't able to pull myself up from the bootstraps. As I've said before in a sermon, like, I couldn't climb the tower, but I serve a God who came down to me. And so I want us to pause for just a second and ask, when's the last time that we faced a situation and we said, you know what, rather than trying to micromanage it and gut will kind of push through, I'm going to say, Lord, I'm powerless in this moment. And maybe that's a sin area, maybe that's a relationship area, or maybe it's just a situation. So let's pause for a second and you all think about that. So I want to keep building on this idea. One of the things that we talk about, and you all do as well, I love this quote here. It says, recovery is a shift in thinking that equips us to, one, face, and two, live in reality. Denial, on the other hand, is both the thought and action of living outside of reality. Denial is accepting and living the illusion of control. You guys talk about the illusion of control. So first off, I want to talk about teach us, what is the illusion of control? What is it?
Well, we use examples that in New York City, there's a whole.
I love these.
Well,
you guys are going to like these.
And it's everywhere, right? That there are these little buttons that you push when you go to a stoplight that says, if you push this button, the light will change and you cross the street. Well, after a while, New York City, like, disconnected, like 80, I can't remember what the book, 70, 80% of those things are disconnected. People know it and they still push that button because you want to feel like you have control. And same thing with American Disability Act. They disconnected all those elevator buttons that say close doors, but people in that elevator are sitting there punching that door. And
some people, including me, when I read this, we just had our minds blown. Like, I feel so stupid. I'm gonna push. How many of you have pushed these buttons thinking you were doing something?
It's a placebo, right?
Yeah,
it's a placebo. And same with, like, people pick their own lottery numbers because they don't want them randomly picked by anybody else, because they think if you pick them, you have a better chance to win the lottery. We just are built to I'm going to just say it this way, to feel safe if we have control, right?
If I can grip it. Yep.
If I can manage what's happening in my life, I will feel safe. And there's reasons for that. If you start talking, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, you can go back and see when people's lives were out of control. When you reach adulthood, you do everything you possibly can to manage your life, because that's part of your coping strategy. You may not be out there using drugs and drinking or, doing some self-destructive things, but what you're doing is you're saying, if I can make sure my finances are where they need to be. And so you're just hyper vigilant over your finances, or your children. You bubble wrap your kids and you lock them in closets until they're 18. You do everything you can to just make sure your life is ordered and safe. And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
And you've taken great care of your money and the bubble pops, right?
Boom. Yep.
I had a pulmonary embolism in my late 30s.
Oh, wow.
Which nobody gets. Nobody has that in their late 30s unless you're pregnant.
Or really special.
Well, that's me. I'm very special in how I can hurt myself, apparently. Like, the doctors had no idea, like, how did this happen? And I remember I was in an emergency room, hospital, Saddleback Hospital in California. I was traveling. I was in this hospital going, like, I run every day. I work out. How did this happen? And one more time, God's reminding me. And it was a really crazy situation. The Saddleback Mountain was on fire.
Oh my! They
had the wildfires in California. And I'm looking out the window of this hospital, and they're just pumping me full of blood thinners. And I'm just thinking, one more time, remind me, I have no control over this world out there or even what's happening inside of my own body. One more time, one more opportunity to go like, God, you are in control. And the comfort,
just peace
that
of God,
God, you are
comes on you.
sovereign.
Yeah, it just came on you.
And the sovereignty of God being comforting sometimes it's a head scratcher because you're going like, I'm not in control. But to be able to let go of a control that you don't actually have.
Yes.
Is freedom. And that's what we talk about in the book is when people go through this book and go through this process, they discover a freedom they didn't know they didn't have.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the freedom is going like, I've been trying to control something that ultimately some part of me says, I know I don't have control. This is all pretend.
Wow.
And the world just has a way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You all have, you all could say like, and one of our questions in our book is, how has the illusion of control been shattered in your life? You all have examples of that,
Right.
where something happened,
Right.
Somebody passed away, somebody hurt you. You were running along and the rug got pulled out from under you.
Pulled out. Yeah, I feel like even in my story, so many times I can look in life when it's like, okay, I'm managing. Like I may not be thriving, but at least I'm managing.
Right.
And I would resort to managing as that's good enough. But it's exhausting. And I think the way that this illusion of control, this idea of I'm managing, and then comparing that with connecting that with the idea of weakness, the idea of powerlessness, saying, hey, I am a person in need of something, in need of help, in need of saving, in need of a Lord, etc. I feel like the thing here, it says that we admit we're powerless and that our lives have become unmanageable. And I think that's the really the grace of the Lord is at some point he says, your life's going to become unmanageable. When it does, I'm right here.
Yeah.
And I think that instead of viewing that as like, I can't grip hold anymore, it's him saying, hey, tag me in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready. Tag me. I'm ready to help you manage this thing. I'm ready to help guide you through this. And if you could let go of that control. And so I just want to kind of ask this question to those of you joining us, which is, so if you said, okay, this is a situation, I'm powerless, I think admitting that you're powerless is not actually necessarily the same of saying, and I'm not going to pick it back up. I'm not going to manage it anymore. I'm not going to try to maintain control of that. And so what I want you all to do is just to take a second and pause and actually pray and say, Lord, search me and know me. What is it right now that I've been trying to say, at least I'm managing? You know, I've got control of this. I can manage this. Where is it that maybe secretively we're using a lot of muscles, a lot of calories, a lot of energy, clinging to something, holding on to something that really we know the Lord's already told us. I think one of the leading causes of anxiety in people is I think they already know what they need to do, but they don't do it. And so they live in this zone of indecision. And right now I do believe that the Lord's challenging some of us to say, hey, are you ready to say, not only did I try to do it on my own and I'm powerless and I'm weak and needy, but number two is it's become unmanageable. And now I'm ready, Lord, for you to take over and manage it. And I want you to name that thing and pray about it for just a second. And then we'll close with a few thoughts as soon as you guys come back. Yeah, so as we kind of close out this first session, we've got another one coming. We're going to do another one. John's going to join me for a second episode, but I wanted to read another quote. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of his human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. I like it keeps going. It says, Frankl's conclusion of what we have control of, in my opinion, is one of the most profound statements ever written. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I mean, do you get that? When we can't change a situation, we're forced or challenged, rather not forced, challenged to change ourselves. So I guess, okay, here I am. I've gone through Reboot. I've gone through a Recovery Alive thing. I'm working the process. I'm trying to stay involved. I'm trying to do the right things. And I'm trying to change, but change is not coming as easy to me. I still find myself trying to manage, trying to control, trying to kind of fit into my old way of doing things. How do I be patient with myself? And what's that process? Is it a daily thing? Every day I have to say, help me let go? I mean, how do I do that? Because it feels like I'm more comfortable. I feel more safe doing it the old way, the way that feels natural, and I need to pick up a new way. So how do I do that? Well, practically speaking.
One of my favorite quotes in there is Spencer Johnson, where he says, change happens when the pain of holding on becomes greater than the fear of letting go. We are gripping. If you ever tried to hold on to something, I remember when I was a kid, I was a little overweight, I was a little chubby, and we would go water skiing.
I was never chubby.
Well, I didn't know if you could relate.
I was
at
great
all.
as a kid.
I'm not saying,
but as an adult, I still have the body of a
Greek god.
prepubescent child right now. Basically,
that's what I.
Yeah, exactly.
A prepubescent.
I look a little like the chubby baby that just I've got some. You know what I've got? I've got some baby fat.
I think we need to work through some recovery stuff.
I do. I'm still losing some baby fat, but I will say, I think I'm about to. My body's going to go through some changes. I'm going to get taller here soon.
And your voice will change.
Maybe my voice get to grow a beard. You know.
There we go.
You all can pray for me at home.
Please pray for Evan for many things. There's a lot to pray about. 100%. So anyway, I'd be out there water skiing. I was learning how to water ski. I was a little overweight, and I remember
you were just more buoyant.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Yeah, I was pleasantly plump.
Get to your story. I'm so sorry. I'll not interrupt you again.
Yeah. So you'd take a spill in water skiing, and apparently this is a thing, but for me, it was just so like, it was such a strange phenomenon is when I would fall, the skis would fall off, everything. What to me would be the most natural thing would be to let go of the rope. I mean, I'd be holding on.
Yeah. And you're dragging across the water.
Something would happen, hit a wave, and skis are gone. I'm flopping around. The most natural thing would be to let go of that rope. But I felt some part of my body, some part of my response was hold on to that thing for dear life. And I'm swallowing gallons of water and I'm just flopping around and I'm hearing my dad in the boat, let go, you moron.
Yeah.
Got to work through that too.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm just holding on to that rope. And that's us. I think it's so hard to let go that
that's right.
The discipleship curriculum we're working on right now is called Surrender is a Lifestyle. Surrender has to become a lifestyle because there's just, even when I'm mad at myself, because I can't let go, there's shame involved in that, which means you're probably not letting go of perfectionism or you're right. I mean, even in that, I love in your book, you're talking about, one of the trauma factors is numbing. And I think part of that numbing process is going it's denial to some extent. You're in this place where you're like, I can't feel feelings. Yeah. I'm not allowed to feel feelings. In the cry piece too, just allowing yourself to feel it so you can follow it and say, people say a lot of times, I'm crying for no reason, or I'm angry there's always a reason. Right. And we deny our ability to go
examine it. Yep.
Yeah. So if I deny it, I can't examine it.
Right.
And so going back to your question, if somebody is in that place of going I'm so frustrated with myself because I feel like I let go one day and the next day I'm picking it back up again.
Yeah.
Even giving yourself grace is a letting go, isn't it? It's a letting go of perfectionism.
That's good.
It's a letting go of saying I have to be perfect. It's letting go of other people's expectations. It's letting go of my own standard and just, hey man, this is God's timing. We're talking about farming. Yep. All I can do is make the conditions right for fruit to grow. And when I do that, when I allow the fruit to grow in my life through the process of farming, the way that God says, the fruit of the Spirit, out of me will produce love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness. And one of the biggest things in recovery is self-control. I don't have self-control unless it's produced out of me through the fruit of the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
And so that's the work of letting go and letting God do. And we say, let go and let God. That means I don't have to do anything. No, faith without works is dead. We want to do the work. It works if you work it. But the work is not to grow the fruit.
Yeah.
It's to make the conditions right for fruit to grow. Just like your wife's out there working hard on the garden. She's not manufacturing fruit.
Right.
She's producing it through making the conditions right. And that's all we can do. And that's what the 12 steps are. Make the conditions right for the fruit of recovery to come out of your life. Yeah. And it takes time.
Yeah.
It's a process. Trust the process and make the conditions right.
Yeah. No, that's so good. That's so good. And so if you find yourself frustrated, maybe you're not giving yourself a great, I love that you said, maybe we need to let go of this illusion of perfection, the expectations of others. Mm-hmm. So if you find yourself caught in that cycle, maybe that's another layer of something you need to let go. Maybe it's not enough to say, well, I'm just going to let go of this thing I'm holding on to. Maybe it's the other's perceptions of that thing, or whatever it may be. And then also allow yourself grace and time. I think that's so beautiful. And so I hope this was a blessing to you. We have some amazing discussion questions that go along with the discussion guide for this particular weekly reboot. I really hope you'll download that and you'll go learn. We also have a link on there where you can go purchase the Recovery Live Handbook from Amazon. You can learn more about them and about what their amazing ministry is doing. So that's all going to be on. So I hope you download that. I hope you complete those discussion questions either by yourself or with others. And we will see you next time on another amazing episode of the Weekly Reboot.